Alright, so today's lesson is on standard deviation. This is in section 12.4. We're actually not going to go through this first page at all. I just wanted to show you that this is from page 668 in the book. Okay? Alright, so on the next page, it talks of range and interquartile range. What I want you to do is kind of write those two words down. You don't necessarily have to define them. I mean, the range is just the difference between the greatest and the least value, so the biggest minus the smallest. You can see they do that right here, actually. The interquartile range we have to find by like what we did yesterday, where we had to find the median, write all the numbers in order, find the median, find the first half median, find the second half median, and just subtract those two values. That's how you do the interquartile range. You can see it right here in the example. You can kind of read through it. It's really, really simple. Okay. Then in class, what we did is we worked on Quick Check 1. And in Quick Check 1, it gave us this list. And what I had students do, you can see this up at the top, is write them all down how you see them first, and then just place the numbers below it, right below each term, so you know you don't lose a term. Really, the place where kids mess up on this is not the math, it's forgetting one term and it throws everything off. So, they wrote them in order, then we did the mean. I found the first half, I found the second half, which was between here at 18.5, I found the second half, which was between here at 24.5, and I subtracted 24, right here I guess you could see it, 24.5 minus 18.5 to get 6, okay? So I just wrote the answers down here. The range itself was from 30 to 16, so I just subtracted that to get 14, okay? Now, the next thing I had you guys do is actually copy this box. So if you were here today and you want to write this down, this box is something you need to pause the screen and copy in. Okay, the mean is this x hat thing, is what I call it, x hat. Find the difference between each value and the mean. That'll make more sense on the next page. It's written like this. Then I have to square that number. Then I have to find the average of these squares, so I would sum all the squares and divide by the number of terms, and then I would square root that, which seems like a heck of a lot of work. Okay, so we went on and we did example 2. We talked about example 2, I should say, in class. And then we did Quick Check 3 or Quick Check 2 right in class. And here's how it worked out. We got these numbers 50, 60, 70, 80, 80, 90, 100, and 110. I'm going to write those in this column. I'm going to find the mean, write it in this column. I'm going to subtract them to write them in this column, and square them to write them in this column, and then sum it. Here's what it looked like. Okay, all the values here. The mean, I added them all up and divided by 8 to get 80. So I wrote that here. Subtracted all of them to get this column. Squared all of them to get this column, and added them up to get 2800. Now what it's saying to do standard deviation is the sum of the squares divided by the number of terms. Well, we just did that right here by doing this column. We divided it by 8, got 350, and squared it to get 18.7. Then we said, this is so much easier if you do it in a calculator. And the steps for that are right here. You might want to pause a second and copy these down, and then I'm going to throw a computer in front of the screen. I'm going to show you, or a calculator, excuse me, in front of the screen, and show you exactly what all of this means. Okay, so again, press pause, copy this in. It's also on Google Classroom right there for you if you want to access that and listen to this at the same time. It's just hard to see both at the same time. So anyways, so there's that. Press pause, copy that down. Now, let's show you how it's done in that last problem. Okay, I'm going to try and see if I can figure out how to zoom this. I don't think I've zoomed it once since I've had it, so see if I can zoom this. Actually, no, because I want you to see what I'm doing here. Okay, so what I've got here is, first, of course, I got to turn it on. I'm going to press, and the directions I'm going to follow exactly what I wrote, because it's exactly what you do. You press the stat button. That's right here. Okay, stat. And you get this menu. You got to press enter for edit. Okay. Now, if other kids have been messing with this, there's going to be values in here that I need to delete. And literally, you can just delete, 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 until you get to that line. Okay. Now I can enter my first data. And you can see it's my first data because it says L11 right here, my first data. So I'm going to enter it all in. 50, enter, 60, enter, 70, enter, 80, enter, 80, enter, 90, enter, 100, enter, 110. Now, here's the thing. My next thing says L19, which makes sense because my next value would be my 9th value, but I only have 8 values. So it's kind of a way to say, okay, I've actually got all my data. This does not need to be in order. But once you put it in here, to find the mean, the standard deviation, everything else is from here. So I'm through step 3 on those directions. Step 4 says press stat again. So it's saved automatically. I press stat again. I go over, so I press the over button here to go over to, you see the options edit, calc, and test. So I'm going to go over to calc, and I want number 1. So I'm just going to press enter, or 1 I guess if you really want to. And that's what it says. It looks like it deletes everything. It doesn't, okay? Then I got to go back and pick that list. So I've got to go back to that list by going second, stats, which will get up the list. And the list that we put all of those values in was that list 1. So I'm going to press enter for L1 for list 1. Now I've got it all set, I can just press enter, and it gives me all the data I need. It gives me the mean, that's what the x hat thing is, which is 80. Of course it is, we found that already. Okay, if you look back to the example here, we found the mean to be 80. We also found the standard deviation to be 18.7. Well look, right here, it tells me it's 18.7. It's also telling me the sum of the x's, 640, which we had to do to find the mean. It tells me a lot of other things. If I go down here, n is 8, because n there's 8 terms. But as I go down here, it tells me the min, 50, and the max, 110, which of course it did because it started at 50 and went down to 110. It also tells me the median, which is 80, and it actually tells me the interquartile medians at 65 and 95. So going back to that previous example, we could have used it to just find the quartiles, and then we could just subtract the 2 to find our interquartile median. Okay, so that's that. A lot easier in a calculator. I didn't even. This is shout out to Mr. Stout because he taught me how to do this, and boy, is it way easier doing it this way. Kids who were in class that tried to use a long way, it took them 5 minutes to just set it up, let alone solve it. Versus kids who did it on a calculator, it took about 2 minutes. Just saying. All right, so that was this. It kind of shows you again what down here it means. This little symbol right here is standard deviation. It's like a this and then x is what it is. Okay, and this kind of tries to show you how to do it, but there's a few extra steps. So I would just look again at the detailed explanation that I had up on the screen a few minutes ago. Okay, then we went into let's see, just talking about how many standard deviations away from the mean. If the mean is 43.2 and the standard deviation is 6, then 6 away puts me at 49.2. 6 away the other way puts me at 37.2. So all of the values between here and here are 1 standard deviation away from the mean. So I would just double it, go another 6 this way, go another 6 this way. Then all of the stuff here is within 2 standard deviations of the mean. Okay, so what we're trying to do is find how many standard deviations away is all of the sets, or we're really trying to find a specific number is how far away from the mean. Well, 40 is within 1 standard deviation of the mean. 35 is within 2 standard deviations of the mean. 30 then would be, of course, 3 standard deviations, and it works the same way. A number over here is 1, 2, and 3 standard deviations away from the mean. This is going to continue to show up. Okay, so we've gotten through that. We've talked about that. Now let's get to z-score. And z-score, up at the top here, can be easily found. Go ahead and press pause. Copy this in. Okay, I want you to copy in this form. Z-score is the value minus the mean over the standard deviation. And when I say value, I mean like if I'm looking at this table, the values are this column here. So I would go value minus the mean divided by what is the standard deviation. Okay, so my z-score for this problem, it tells me it has a mean of 85, so I just plug that in right there. A standard deviation is 6, so I just plug that in right there. And a z-score of, a value of 76. So you can see my math here, I plugged it in, and they do it here too. Divided, got negative 1.5. And these values are actually decimal values, and typically they're between negative 3 and 3. Okay, we're going to talk more about this as we go on in this chapter. So then it says use the mean and standard deviation from example 5 and find the value as a z-score of 2.5. So I'm going to use the same mean. I'm going to set it up here. The z-score is 2.5 equals, I don't know the value. It actually says find the value, so that's my, I'll put v minus the mean. We're going to use the same mean and standard deviation that they had in the previous problem. To solve this, you know what, if you had 3 equals x over 6, you would know you just times by 6 to both sides. And that is the same steps you would do here. Okay, you get 15 equals v minus 85, and then you add 85 to both sides, and you get v equals 100. And that is the answer. Okay, your homework, pretty much, it cannot all be seen on this page because there's a few on the next page, but your homework right here was page 672 through 673, number 1 through 5, 8 through 16. And that can all be found on Google Classroom, or if you really want to just pause it and look at it here, and then the last two problems here, well, you could do that as well. Okay? All right, have a good one.